and I'm here to talk to you about, let me pull this up, the discussion thread on data collection. So there were a few questions that I decided to break down for examples of how you collect data from your students and how you use that data. I use quite a bit of ticket outs, and sometimes even number 1 and 3 questions posted on Google Classroom go hand in hand. Sometimes it's a paper ticket out, sometimes it's a question that I post. I also use homework assignments, and I'm going to show you an example of a homework assignment I gave the other day in my government class. And then, have you taught your students how to collect and organize data? What methods worked well for you? I break down the standard. Arizona state standards are pretty tricky. They're very vague. So I have to be very specific in my learning targets. So, for example, the lesson I taught the other day is about the Articles of Confederation. So if we look at the state standard of evaluate the evolution of ideals and rights established in historical documents, students are going to be like, I don't know what that means. So I broke it down into different learning targets. The other day, I focused on define and explain the meaning of the terms confederation and federalism. I'm talking about this one. And my students actually struggled with that. They couldn't really tell me the difference. So what I did was I took that learning target of F and I created this little homework assignment, checking for understanding, define confederacy, define federalism, and then I need them to really tell me, can they apply it? So the current government of the United States of America, so today, so I'm trying to make that connection of in the past we were a confederacy. Currently today we are a federalism. And then I literally made them answer the learning target. Explain what the differences are between the two terms. Explain 2 key differences between the 2 terms. Now, when I talked about here of student trackers for their own data, here are the same state standards that I typed out. And so and then here's the unit goals that I make sure that those are the summative assessments. Now, each individual target, every day they write out. So the other day, when they were writing out, define and explain the meaning of the terms confederation, and I noticed they struggled, that's when I created that other assessment. Tuesday, after reading the Articles of Confederation, make a list of the state power and national powers that were granted under this document. They actually did that pretty well. And I think because they understood the differences between a confederacy and a federalism. We shall see how today goes of the strengths and weaknesses of the articles and why they no longer work. So the students do have to track their own data using that student tracker that I created based off of the breakdown of the state standards. I found a few articles putting students in charge of their learning. Students should be measuring their own progress. Make them in charge of their learning goals and track them. So I label lesson F, here are the learning targets, and then what grade do they get on lesson F? And then give students time to reflect at the end of a lesson or a unit. That's something that I struggle with that I liked that this author talked about. And then how will I know what my students have learned? It's an article from Northern Illinois University, and learning targets must be aligned with the assessment. So that little formative assessment on confederacy and federalism, that little piece, it took them maybe 10 minutes, but that helped me be able to align the learning target with a small little assessment. Assessments don't have to be a big hoop-de-doo thing. And then a question that the article asked, does this assessment provide direct evidence of learning? I also put pictures on here of Arizona sunsets. So here are some resources that I have, and there you go. So thanks, guys.